We need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers.
Social justice, power hour, power hour, power hour. Social justice, power hour, power hour, power hour.
Good evening to our friends on the East Coast, good afternoon to our friends on the West, and good in-between time to our friends in the in-between spaces, which we all find ourselves more and more these days, but hopefully looking to the other side. And our guest tonight is someone who brings me to that other side, and he's been on the show once before, Steve Brodner, illustrator extraordinaire, journalist, provocateur, really a hero of mine. I followed his work for, I don't want to say how long to age either one of us, but really, if you're familiar with his work, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're not, you're in for a gosh darn treat tonight. So stay tuned. We'll bring him on in a few minutes. We're going to look at a lot of his work and go through 2020 through his eyes and through his inky fingers. But before I do that, I want to talk about a couple of things on the show. First and foremost, if you saw the show on Friday night, you know how special it was. We had musician Michael Penn, who released his first song in 15 years, and we had a tremendous conversation about music, his activism, and he is just one of the kindest, most generous folks I've met in a long time. And it was a tremendous conversation. If you missed it, it's in our archives, but do know this, it was truncated because Facebook didn't realize that Michael Penn owns his own music, and they cut off a couple of the songs thinking that we were violating copyright of his own music. So we will repost the full video once we come to terms with Facebook. But what's up there now, there's about 3/4 of it is worth seeing in and of itself. So please do tune in for that. It was really a beautiful moment here at the Power Hour. And speaking of beautiful moments, know this, that we know that the holiday is coming up fast and furious. And for a lot of folks, it's going to be a difficult time in our community. In the past, we have opened the doors at the center physically at our headquarters in Princeton, New Jersey. This year, obviously, safety and sanity precludes that. So we'll be opening our doors virtually here in the Power Hour. And we are amassing some wonderful folks to be with all y'all. It's going to be it's going to really put the S in spectacular. It's going to be a wonderful evening. And for those of you that need a safe space, we'll be here. And for those of you who want to provide a safe space, we'll welcome you as well to our whole community. So that's the 23rd. That's a week from this Wednesday. And then on Christmas Day, renowned folk artist and good friend of the center, David Brzezinski, will be doing a holiday sing-along at the Power Hour that night. So if you're looking for, again, another place to be on the holiday, which we know is difficult for a lot of folks, we will be here for you, as we always are. We've been here every weeknight since the pandemic started, and the holiday is no exception. In fact, they're even more important for us to be together. And speaking of be together, tomorrow night we'll do our queer yoga, as always, coming together to take a breath, both literally and figuratively. Such an important moment for us. We've done that every Tuesday since the pandemic started. We've done over 200 shows, and once a week it's been queer yoga. And then Wednesday we have Dr. Peniel Joseph, Black Power scholar, author, wonderful book, The Sword and the Shield, which talks about the false dichotomy between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Proud to say he became a board member here at the center a few months back, so we're looking forward to a robust conversation with our old friend. And then on Thursday, none other than Billy Eichner will be with us. Since Billy can't be on the street right now, he'll be on the Power Hour, so you know you want to tune in for that. And then Friday, we have our friend Jill Sobule coming back post-brain surgery. Her brain surgery was incredibly successful, so we're thrilled to have her come back and shred like she wanted to. And we're going to bring back some incredible guests as well. You know, if you saw the first one, we had Tom Morello, we had Debbie Boone, we had Alan Cumming, we had a whole bunch of folks with us, and we're going to no different this Friday coming up. We're going to have really special folks celebrating our friend Jill Sopiel. And then coming up in the future, we have Frederick Joseph, author of The Black Friend on Being a Better White Person. We have Pete Souza, who is a White House photographer under, I do this every time, I was going to say under 2 White Houses. There are not 2 White Houses. There's 1 White House, 2 tenures at the White House under Ronald Reagan and Barack Obama. And he's going to bring some of his favorite photographs and tell us some behind-the-scenes stories. Zane Judakar is going to be with us, transgender author, beautiful book just released. Doonesbury is 50 years old, and this beautiful book is celebrating that, and I am over the moon to announce to all y'all that Gary Trudeau will be with us on the Power Hour coming up. And Franklin Leonard, creator of The Blacklist, which is coming out in just a couple of days, so we're looking forward to having him on the show. And finally, Anoa Changa, one of our old favorites. I have such respect for this woman. She is an electoral justice reporter. Her boots are on the ground in Georgia, so she'll be here the night before the Georgia runoff, and she'll give us all the skinny, all the 411, everything we need to know about the election the next day, what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and she's the one to help us with that. So we're thrilled she'll be with us. We're honored, actually, because I'm sure her dance card is awfully punched that night, and to be with us, we are really touched that she's choosing to spend the time. But speaking of spending time, tonight, our guest, as I said, and I'm not overstating in any way, shape, or form, you know, I don't blow smoke. This man is a hero of mine. He's been doing this work for a very long time, and it's always fresh, it's always important, it's always passionate, and his voice, both on the page and from his own self, is so incredibly powerful. So without further ado, instead of going through a lengthy introduction, let me bring on Steve Brodner to our virtual Steve. Steve, thank you, Steve. Steve, how are you, my friend? See, you make me nervous. You make me nervous. Yeah, I'm a fan.
It's just when you're in the presence of such greatness, you know, it tends to paralyze you. No, I feel I'm in the presence of greatness with you. You have done a nightly show, and finding people, just looking at the intros that are coming in, people from all walks of life, people from all over the world, different worlds of music, literature, activism, and an occasional cartoonist. It's astonishing. And Gary Trudeau, I mean, what a get that is, to get Gary.
I agree with you, my friend. I'm really excited about that. I have the books from like Yale, from like those old, like from 71. So we have a lot to talk about. But you have done this thing with the nation, and all of our viewers, given their, who they are and, where we are on this Power Hour, all of our viewers read the nation, I'm sure. And you have done not a weekly, not a monthly, but a daily piece of work for, that's what I'm saying is.
Like you're doing it daily.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. You and I, when you were first on, and I cannot believe it was back in July. It seems like it was just a few weeks back. We are very simpatico in our beliefs, in our passion, and I think that we're both invigorated by the work we do. So I look forward to this hour every night.
When you do it daily, I think it's a little easier than at the end of the week trying to figure out, what do I talk about now? You can really, I feel a kind of empowerment and a sense of relief that every day I can say, okay, what am I feeling heaviest about now? What's leaning on me the strongest right now? Is it the continued campaign against democracy by Trump and his friends? Or is it the resistance to that? And how, like today, the Electoral College came out and said, screw you, Trump. He tried to fool with the process and change votes and bribe people and whatever else. How many laws did he break in order to make himself look this foolish? He could have looked this foolish without breaking any laws, but he went ahead and did it. And I hope that somebody pays a price for these moves against democracy, because eventually some smarter fascist will come along and make more headway with it. And that's our danger. Not that Trump is in danger of staying in the White House. He's not. But what's in danger is what we're in danger of are people like Ted Cruz or Tom Cotton or people like this saying, this is a way to subvert the process. So do I do that? Do I do more people who have suffered in the pandemic, more first responders? Do we do nurses, doctors, hypocritical politicians? There's just, it's better to do it every day because there's so much. It's a fire hose of hypocrisy and death. On the same day, today, we hit 300,000 dead today. And on the same day that the first virus went out, on the same day that the Electoral College told Trump that the party's over, and Bill Barr resigned. I don't know if you heard that, Robert. Bill Barr is out, which means, is that good? Or is Trump going to install another stooge who will actually indict everybody in the last month? So when you do something every day, you have the chance to really take all these things on, which is, if you're into this and if you're into making commentary, it's much better than once a month or once every week, I think.
And what you do is such a tremendous service to the community. I mean, you keep me personally, you keep me sane because I get to see your take on the day, and it allows for us not to ever become inured to what's going on, not to become complacent, not to keep saying, oh, it's beyond the pale. We can't allow it to be excused because it's beyond the pale. And your work every day allows us to make sure we're staying cognizant of what's going on.
You know what? You want to do something about the fire hose, right? It's like too much. How do you say 300,000 dead people? Do you show like endless rows of gravestones in a cemetery? Do you just list names? My feeling is you just do one person. One person, that's all. This person was lost in the epidemic. And this is the person that we lost to the world. A beautiful mother, a beautiful father, a son, a person who was an artist, a person who was an activist, somebody who was very important in the community. No more. That person's gone. All the knowledge that person had that he or she could have given to future generations, gone forever. Very much like a war. I feel this is very much like World War II, where everybody is just waiting for news of a loved one who's died. And all you can do is just say, it hurts this bad. That's all you can say. You can't stop it. You can't change it. But as an artist, what you can do is, and I say this anytime I get the question, and I don't think you asked me this question, but I always get the question, what good does it do?
I would never ask you that because I know exactly, but I understand the predilection to ask that question.
Everybody asks, like, what do you think you're doing? Like, you do a drawing about something, is it going to change anything? And the answer is, you don't know. You don't know what's going to change. But what you do know is that you occupied the silence. Following injustice, almost as bad as the injustice, comes the expectation by the criminals of silence. The silence can be interpreted as a kind of consent. So if you, as an artist, can do a drawing of George Floyd, you know how many people did paintings of George Floyd and put him in the middle of town, on a fence, on a building, in the newspapers, in a magazine. In my case, I drew him on the website. That's occupying the silence. That's saying where you would maybe now be thinking about the NFL, for the moment, you're not thinking about the NFL. You have to see him one more time. And so this year we all did this together. The people of the Black Lives Matter movement printed T-shirts, face masks. I have my Black Lives Matter face masks I wear. We all, many of us went out and did protest. And by the way, almost all of it was peaceful. The Black Lives Matter protests were infiltrated to a certain extent by white supremacists, and some of those riots were instigated, and there's footage of it too. We've all seen the footage of white supremacists dressed up in black, and then they want to start something. And we're seeing right now the Proud Boys and other white racist, white nationalist groups going out, and they are not nonviolent. So this has been a great year of activism, and there's been a great movement, and I think it's going to have an impact going forward. So that's what it does. It does something collectively. It's what we all do together. It's not one artist who has the power to. That's a myth. That's a fallacious myth that comes from the 19th century and Thomas Nast, and this idea that one artist can blow up City Hall, which could happen then, but it doesn't happen now. Media is different. We're different. We have a different society. But what you do and what I do and what millions of people do are what's bringing change to the country.
And that's why I wanted you to be on tonight. And I wanted to show some of the work. I think we have almost a dozen and a half pieces that we're going to show tonight. That's kind of a snapshot of what the year was through your eyes, through your inky fingers, and thinking about. And I want to announce this. I'm very excited. There you go. See, that's old school.
Very old school.
Yeah, love it. Love it. I'm going to tell everybody this. You and I spoke before the show, and I'm very excited to announce that you're going to come back on a monthly basis. End of the month, you're going to give us a snapshot of that month. So we're not catching up to a whole year. Every month, because you're doing this, and let's backtrack. So how exciting this announcement is to our community. You are doing a daily strip in the nation, and you've been doing this for...
I've been doing the daily drawing since the pandemic really shut everything down in March, maybe. And then the nation since, I don't know, the summertime. So they collect them. They collect the dailies, and it runs on Friday. It's called The Greater Quiet. Those who want to see the dailies can follow me on Instagram, hashtag #SBrodner, and also Twitter, @Steve Brodner, and then there's Facebook also under my name. And you'll see the things every day, but I'm also posting all kinds of, basically, I'm accused of being an optimist. I'm accused of only caring about good news. I do see good news. I see good news everywhere. But you have to curate it a little bit. You have to recognize that in a garden of weeds, there is going to be a rose. And you can decide to talk about the weeds, but you can also, if you want, to say, there's a rose over there, and let's take a picture of that rose and let's draw it. And let's encourage the idea of planting roses. So that's the way I see politics. That's how I see the world. We are moving away from fossil fuels. We are investing tremendously at a very fast rate now in renewable energy. It is far cheaper to produce renewables than to build coal power plants and to think of all the money necessary to dig up the Arctic Circle. That's going to happen, but it's going to become less and less cost effective. And people realize, oh, look what I can do to heat and light my house for pennies. I don't need all of this. And then with a little push by the governments of the world, and Biden, I think, will give a big push now. He's totally devoted to this. And he gets the idea of a Green New Deal. He doesn't use that word, but if you look at his energy proposals and his environmental proposals, all we need are those 2 Senate seats in Georgia. And boy, it's going to be, it could be, even though he's an old man and really quiet, it could be a historic presidency. So Georgia has to really be the first thing we do.
So let's start looking at some work.
Yeah.
Because these pieces, again, this is what kept many of us sane, many of us cognizant of not losing track of there is such a propensity of real evil. I mean, I think that we confronted real evil for years, and especially these past 10 months, 11 months, from the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement and everything else that was going on. The response couldn't have been worse from the upper echelons of our administration. And you, my friend, allowed us to see the real human cost of it. So let's start with, this is one of my favorite pieces that you did entirely.
Well, at first, Breonna Taylor was not getting any publicity at all. And it came in a flood of Black murders in cold blood by American police. And so she was killed March 13th. I published this sometime later. It came to my attention later. And it's just still hard to understand how this can happen to a human being. She was asleep in her home. The police entered without knocking. Her boyfriend had a gun, which is the American way. Apparently, if you're white, it's the American way to have a gun and fend off an intruder. The cops did not announce themselves, and the gunfire ensued. And in the exchange, she was murdered in her bed. The epidemic of Black murders in the country caused a new civil rights movement. And her face has become a big part of that. She's a big icon in this new moment, which I hope will be something that does not die away. Unfortunately, it will not die away, probably because we haven't reformed the system. But we also need to have it not die away and not go away because of our activism and our continued pressure on politicians and police departments. Okay, so this is Angela Settles of Nashville. Her husband died of COVID in July after being sent home from the ER, uninsured. And he was worried about the high cost of the hospitalization, so he didn't go back in. And as a result of that, she was later hit with huge bills for her husband's care. And later on, the hospital admitted it had been sent in error. But there are all kinds of hidden tragedies like this. People who just don't get enough information. They're not told exactly what's going on. Right now, people are getting vaccines. Tonight, people are getting vaccines that are for free, but the states are going to be hit with tremendous costs that no one's talking about for personnel and equipment. And then as a result, they're going to have to cut education money for feeding the poor, money from other kinds of medical care and garbage pickup and all kinds of social services. So, it's all a big web. And unless we have aid from Washington, I think that's our only hope, is to get the federal government to understand all the ways in which we need help.
And this is what's amazing about the work. The work is so powerful. Your images and your talent is so incredibly powerful in and of itself. But then you find the stories. So there's really a two-part process that makes this so magical to me. That one, you have this talent, but you're utilizing it in a way to tell these stories that you find each and every day.
Well, it's that's what illustrators do. illustration isn't easy. The idea of illustration is not just making pictures. You got to have like both brains working at the same time. So you're thinking about what you want to say, and then what's the best way to say it. And you have to just sketch a lot until you've got the right combination down. It's an admixture of left brain, right brain. And so what's the best way to draw it? Who do you want to tell the story through? And what is it that you actually want to say? So, yeah, the ICE detention facilities, these people have not been given decent respect before they were getting sick. But do we care? Do we want to talk about how the virus is rampaging through detention centers around the country? They're being as hard hit as prisons and nursing homes and all these other repositories for people who society doesn't want to think about anymore. And let's think about them. The Native American community has paid a tremendously high price. They're saying that a lot of indigenous peoples will be voting or are expected to vote in the Georgia runoff. And wouldn't that be sweet justice if they actually could save this country? Here are some people in the Amazon who are experiencing the Trumpian response from Bolsonaro, who's little Trump himself. And this man, Paulino Paikan, was a tribal leader and a very important man in his community, and lost in the pandemic. This is a recent one. You can see I've stopped hand lettering them because it just takes another couple of hours to do all this. She was on TV. I get the material from everywhere, and she was so moving to me. I saw this video on TV, and then on MSNBC. I think Rachel Maddow had this video, and then I found it online, and I just wrote exactly what she said. I can't touch numbers. I don't understand the 245,000 deaths, but I know what it's like to hear the sound of a zipper on a body bag. I know the feeling that my hand makes, the feeling of a hand on a chest, and then what it's like when a life slips away. That was a person that mattered, she says. Maybe it's best if you have that kind of a job, if you're a nurse, and you are able to cut your feelings off. But how could you do that? How can a human being do that? A person like this wouldn't take a job like that in the first place.
So we're at the halfway point, so I wanted us to, for those of you who might have joined us late, or remind everybody we're talking to master illustrator Steve Brodner, journalist, provocateur, and teacher too. Doing all of this, doing this daily illustration, you're also teaching at School of Visual Arts and inspiring a whole new contingent of illustrators and artists to do the kind of work that needs to be done.
And getting inspired myself by them.
And that's the thing is if you follow Steve, especially on Facebook, I think a lot of his students will talk about what you meant to them, but then you will always talk about what they meant to you, and that's a good teacher. That's a teacher that matters. That's a teacher.
Students don't realize teaching is a selfish act. It really is about giving and taking, and they know a lot more than I do about a ton of things, about almost every. I can tell them how to put pictures together, but they know about everything else. Kids today are really smart. Some of them are readers, and they know, of course, all about popular culture, and I don't, and they know about new kinds of relationships that I don't know about, new ways of speaking, new ways of thinking. So teaching, I'm 66, and teaching keeps me vital and at least marginally aware of things that are going on. I can never get as deep as they are, but Wow. I love them. And I'm teaching a lot of Chinese students also who couldn't come and they're still in China. And I teach them at 8:30 in the morning. This morning, I got up at 8:30 to teach them. So what am I doing here? It's crazy. 8:30 might sound not so early to you, but you can see when I post my art, right?
Yeah, well, it's different for you. You work late into the night, so that's the way your inspiration. I can see that. There's definitely.
I've been a night owl all my life, and now I have to get up at 7:00 to teach this class.
But I've seen you. We've talked. I hate to say it, but we've. I don't know what you call it on the Twitter machine. You and I have exchanged DMs very early in the morning. So I don't know. I'm afraid for you. Are you taking care of yourself?
I think artists, if they get the chance to do their art, there's nothing else that matters. Like that is, I'll cut off some sleep if I can get the chance to do the work that I care about. It has its own energy. It creates its own endorphins,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So if you're in the middle of something, you forget about sleeping. And then when it's over, suddenly you can't move. You can't walk over to the bed. It's like, whoa. So that's what art really can do. It brings you to another world. It brings you to another state of being. You enter that world. I enter the worlds of these people when I draw them every night. Nick Cordero, I never saw him on Broadway, but I have friends who saw him. Justin Squiggs Robertson, you see here, he's an excellent caricaturist and a good friend. And Mr. Broadway, he does lots of Broadway work. And he knew Nick. And so he gave me this inside information about this actor, funny and beloved by his community. And I felt it was really important to draw him because he's, 40 years old? How old is he?
Yes, 41.
41. And everybody's thinking it's just an old person's disease, COVID. And that's not true. Here's a young man with a young family, brilliant career ahead of him, probably would have been a movie star. And only the people who got the privilege of seeing him. I think he did television also, but the people on Broadway will remember him.
But this was a pivotal moment. This was an awakening for a lot of folks who had this illusion about what COVID was up until that point.
Yeah. And since then, there have been cases of people in their 20s and teenage years, and even some children with comorbidities that passed away. See, this is a typeface I shouldn't use because I can't read it.
So it's David Nagy, lost
and died.
His wife. Yeah.
His wife wrote the most searing obit for him. So I didn't draw her, but I drew him, but I printed her words, which basically laid it at the door of Donald Trump. And, there's, of the 300,000 people, how many can be connected to government's policies of ignoring and lying about the disease and letting it pass and letting it go and doing nothing, and then creating a political movement about masks, relating mask wearing to masculinity? This has caused many deaths, I believe. Someday someone will write an article trying to actually find out how much those ideas and that kind of propaganda hurt families. How many people, how many lives were taken away because of that? And
I remember this. I remember she said, "Shame on you all, and may karma find you."
Karma has a way of doing that. Watch out for karma.
See, and this is the other thing. So I always feel like I want to have two conversations with you. I want the first hour to be about the political, spiritual piece of it, and then I want to talk to you as just having a wonky conversation about illustration and the way you use line and the way you use expression and the different techniques you use in each piece is just a phenomenal thing in and of itself.
That's what's evolving about this series, is that I try to stylistically change it around to keep myself interested in the thing graphically, and I'm learning things. Like here, I'm using one of these pencils. You know, these colored pencils that are multicolored. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah, this is one like this. You see it? It's got different colors when you turn it. Every child has played with a pencil like this. Now it's blue, now it's red, now it's yellow. And so I woke the line up like that by using that kind of a pencil. And this is just a food bank, just a line of people waiting for food. How are you going to show 24 million people who are hungry? How are you going to show 20 million people who are in danger, not in danger, but probably will lose their homes this month, be evicted? I believe during the Great Recession of '08, 7 million people were evicted, and now we'll have 20. Why isn't this a big story? That's why you want to draw it.
And that's why this is so important. And this is, to remind our viewers, this is all part of the Greater Quiet, which Steve started doing. And what's wonderful is we've grown together. Like we started doing the Power Hour at the same time you did the Greater Quiet.
Really?
We have this parallel journey. And then thankfully, beautifully, the nation picked it up during the summer and hopefully got a wider audience for it. And you've been doing this every day. So we're choosing snapshots from this to kind of encapsulate the year for our viewers.
Yeah, it's been a big year. Too much. This is the last one I did. This, you can see how it's changed. I'm using more color now. Dick Hinch, which is an interesting name. He was the Speaker of New Hampshire House of Representatives, Republican, and he died after 1 week after being inaugurated at an outdoor ceremony. There were 200 people there, many of them without masks, and it turns out now, since this story came out the other day, that a lot of those people walking around that day at the inauguration had the virus. They had tested positive. They went anyway. I feel okay. I don't have symptoms. I can just go in and hang out with my friends. Why should I miss the cocktails? Why should I miss the sandwiches? And so it becomes a spreader event. And here's this guy, an important man, apparently, in the Speaker, New Hampshire, dead. So, you know, how much thinking does it take?
And the piece that what's so strong is without any context. You know, you don't draw an horizon. And I'm getting wonky about illustration, but you can feel the floating. You can feel the essence of you know, he's erythral. You know, it reminds me. There's this piece you did of Obama as a float. It's the same sort of.
You have a memory, yeah.
You're getting that. Well, I'm a huge fanboy, but getting that feeling that you communicate so much spirit energy in the work, and you know, this piece is exemplar of that.
Thank you, Robin.
And this piece should be huge on the side of a building. This piece has seen a lot of iterations, right? I've seen this at rallies and protests.
That's right. I did this before Trump was president. I did this in December of 2015, and it ran in The Nation. And people have said to me since, I really like that cover you did. Well, it wasn't a cover. It was 5 inches inside The Nation on page 6 or something. And but it found such a life on the internet, online. People started making big posters out of it. People started projecting it onto walls of buildings. You're right. It did become an object like that. And somebody just sent me. You can, anybody wants to go to my Facebook page, you'll see a photograph somebody sent me of the Proud Boys protest from this Saturday. A Washington D.C. friend of mine, on Facebook friend, made a big poster of it and shoved it right in their faces. The Proud Boys, quote unquote, Proud Boys.
So that's
all I think the Proud Boys need is to have sex. These guys, they're incels, right? They want to blame the Jews and the blacks and the Muslims because they can't have sex. And honestly, it's not our problem.
So
we
I
all
don't
have to find sex where we can, and you guys are not going to have. You're not going to get off in the same way by jumping up and down and screaming about Trump. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It's not the same thing.
Have you read Talia Lavin's book, Cultural Warlords?
No, I haven't.
Talia went undercover for an entire year, and a Jewish white woman.
Tell me the name. Talia what?
Talia Lavin, Lavin. She was on the show last week, and she wrote this wonderful, incredibly horrifying book about going undercover and all these white supremacist online chat rooms and communities and dark pieces of the web. And we had a wonderful conversation last week about the book and her work, because not only did she do this horrifying thing, but somehow she kept her sense of humor throughout it all. So there are these dark moments, but these bursts of humor and energy. It's an incredible piece. I highly recommend it to our viewers. And if you didn't see the interview last week, I suggest you check it out. It's really great.
I will. I absolutely will.
And here's another piece. This is Dr. Brittany Cooper commenting on murders in Kenosha.
So this was in response to this young boy, 17-year-old kid, who thought he was going to be a hero to the right. And then he was right in a sense. He became a hero. But off he goes to prison for walking around in the streets of Kenosha with an automatic weapon that I guess his mother got him for his birthday or something. How does a 17-year-old kid walk around with an AR-15? Anyway, this is somebody, Dr. Brittany Cooper, talking about the connections between right-wing gun culture and this tragedy of this boy whose life is now ruined. He may think he's a hero, but he's going to jail for a while, and he's not going to college right away. And when he comes out, he may be ruined for having a healthy life.
And it's so infectious, right? Hate is so infectious, and it especially is devastating when it infects the youth like this.
Yeah, the word infection is correct. He was infected. He could have been surrounded by love, and instead he was surrounded by some kind of culture that celebrates cruelty, violence, feelings of being in a war. And so, if that gang wants a war, they're not going to get a war from the left. They're going to find a war that comes from the Union Army. And the Union Army is a little bigger than it was last time. And they're going to have some surprises with the big new guns that the Union Army has. Here's Adeline Fagan, just a sweet person who gave of her life endlessly, and then she suffered for a month with COVID-19. 28 years old.
And I want to jump back to this piece because I do want to really. It's important to emphasize the talent that's at work here. The way that you portray this young man and the feeling that emanates from this illustration is so incredibly diametrically opposed to what you get from this, and it's just really extraordinary.
In the sense that the first one is more of an object, and this is more of a subject.
Yeah. Just
I feel for him, I feel for the kid in a sense, because I was 17 and I did stupid things, nothing along those lines. But we all do stupid things when we're 15, 16, 17. And a lot of it has to do with our environment. But think of all the black kids at that age who are being summarily cut off at the knees by if they're not killed, they're sent into prison for what? Smoking marijuana or having a few joints in their pockets, and or hanging out with the wrong kid. You know, I don't know, Robert, if you've ever smoked pot.
I don't indulge, but I think that there's a huge issue in the country. It's an excuse for putting people of color in prison.
It is, and everybody of my generation, and even presently at my age, will have a libation now and then, and I guess by that standard would deserve to be in prison next to all these kids from Bed-Stuy. But instead we, have a glass of wine and have a toke, and nobody says anything. No one cares. And I have some friends who do more than that. I have friends who, again, my age, senior citizens, who made a lifetime habit of maybe overdoing it a little bit. But no cop has ever shown up at the door at an Upper West Side apartment of a dentist or an editor and hauled him off to jail because he had a certain amount of marijuana in his possession. None of this makes any sense. This is a judge. I'm trying to remember what I wrote here.
This is Judge Matthew Brand, and he decided against the Trump campaign's appeal to cancel votes.
Yes. There was one failure after another since the election. Somebody said 40 days of BS from the Trump administration, and all they get is anybody with the slightest ounce of honesty, whether they're Republican or Democrat, just says, no, you need reality here. We're not all going down your rabbit hole of fantasy. It's coming as a shock to them. So I try to draw the sternness in that face.
And you did. And is this mass? Is this charcoal? Did you?
No, it's another one of these colored pencils.
Really? Wow, it's extraordinary. I mean, it gets that essence of the charcoal, that softness of it.
Hold it, sharpen it so that the lead is extended. Hold it by the side, and then look for the shadows. I teach this stuff, and I say this is a good example of shadow hunting.
Yeah,
the areas in the face where there are shadows, and that's what you draw.
I love that term, shadow hunting. That's
shadow hunting.
That's fucking brilliant.
Also, called, in other art schools, it's called. When I was at Cooper Union, it was called value drawing. But I try to make it a little more explicit and say shadow hunting.
Sexy. Shadow hunting is much more sexy than value drawing. That's what I like much better.
And here's a real political cartoon suggested by Anderson Cooper, who said at the very beginning of this travesty of election denial, the most powerful person in the world is acting like an obese turtle on his back flailing in the hot sun, realizing his time is over. So it was easy. Just draw the turtle.
Love it. Love it.
And David Perdue, who is a man who's a brave U.S. senator, but not brave enough to want to debate Joel Ossoff on television because he's a corrupt son of a bitch. And here are the ways in which he has sold stock the minute he heard about the pandemic and bought stock in PPP manufacturing without bothering to pause on his way to his broker to announce to his constituents that actually they're going to die. Much better to make some money off of it. And also, so I enumerate the sins. He's one of the 22 GOP senators urging Trump to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement. And he has also received over $180,000 from oil and gas interests between 2012 and 2017. What a coincidence.
So being a 501c3, I cannot endorse or lobby, but this is why I wanted to show this piece and have you enumerate these reasons. We have, so please be as exponential as you like to be, because you missed the middle part where he talked about crazy Trump.
Trump's COVID response after recordings showed he cynically downplayed the crisis. Perdue said he was trying to manage the psyche of the country. Perdue deserves to be defeated by substantial margin. And if anybody has a nickel to send to Ossoff and Karnock, please do that. And Act Blue is a great place to give your money. They'll distribute it to both campaigns, or you can do it your way. But it's the more money they have, the better. But they also need Stacey Abrams to get everybody out to vote.
Yeah, they're organizing down there. They're doing their work, but we have to support them as much as we can. Not by going there. They've been very explicit in saying they don't want folks to go there. But money and spirit and energy and amplifying the voices that are there.
Actually, the election started today. Today's the first day of voting.
Yeah, today was in person, early voting. So this is the last piece that we have tonight. And I think everybody will realize why we chose this as the last piece.
Yes, John Lewis. Like Bayard Rustin, one of the deputies of King, and he's had more impact, living and dead, than anybody, I think, of our time. A great spiritual leader, and I just needed to draw him when he passed on. And before he died, he left a message to be read after he died. And this is it. In my life, I've done all I can to demonstrate the way of peace, the way of love, and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom ring. So I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide. He stays with us. He stays with us. And with those two senators, if we can get them, we will have the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that President Obama has talked about, which would sweep away a lot of the impediments to voting all over the country. And when that happens, it'll be much harder for the fascists to take hold. Then we'll have real elections, and people will not be waiting for 5 hours to vote in the rain. They will not be blocked by information that's wrong about where the polling places are. We'll have all week voting the way we've had, much more voting by mail. Look at the turnout when you had voting by mail, but no more legal challenges to vote by mail. We are on the verge of a revolution, I believe. I think something really big is going to happen. Hey, the Cleveland Indians changed their name today. If that doesn't tell you something is happening, I don't know what does.
Well, and amazingly, our outgoing president had an issue with that. And it's just, again, we don't want to ever say it's beyond the pale, but gosh, how do you come out on the wrong side of literally everything?
Yeah. Well, but we know where he stands. We know what he's about. We know where he's at. I think we should just at some point stop covering him.
Well, that's the hope, right? That's the hope, is you take away the platform. He doesn't have that position of power. That's where we in the media went wrong in the first place. We gave him so much, attention. And he's like this plant that grows with sunlight. You give him the sunlight, and then he just like a weed, what is that weed in the South that grows all over? Kudzu. He's like kudzu. He just covers everything, and I think now that's going to end. He's going to hold rallies, but I predict that after the first one or so, the news it will not be news anymore. Nobody will cover it, and even the Trump supporters will be bored because he doesn't have another act. The only act he had was as president. He could fire people, threaten people, had power. Once you take the power away, he's just another nut. He's just another crank who's holding rallies and screaming and yelling about people he hates. But if he's doesn't have a chance of being president again, who cares? And also, I mean, to once again double down on my feel good campaign.
I think that after this, we're going to have an economic boom. I think a lot of Trump supporters are going to have money in their pockets all of a sudden. There will be a big jobs program, and people will be put to work. And once that starts to happen, people really just going to want to forget all about 2020. 2020 is the year that people are going to want to put in the hole forever. And Trump is linked forever with 2020. It's all about 2020 and the disease and racism and violence. It's all, and Trump all together. And I really think that we, I feel it's no extra charge to feel that things are going to get better.
I'm with you, my friend. I really do. Not only because they can't get worse, but I also I am an eternal optimist. And part of that is privilege. Part of that is growing up with parents who loved me, and I was in a safe, loving environment. And to me, I was always going home was somewhere safe. So that carries with you. And what I've tried to do, what you've done, and this is why our journeys are so parallel, is to keep people informed, but also enlightened and inspired. And for that, we thank you. And I am...
Stay positive. Stay looking for solutions. It's never going to be perfect, but don't shut down if you can't. Schindler's List has a powerful message. You can't save 6 million Jews. What if you can only save a few of them? Is that okay? Is that worth working hard to do, to save just a few? I think we're going to have to be Schindlers here, because there's widespread devastation and mega death, and we have to save some until we can get ourselves, straight in other ways. I mean, straight, not, clear of mind and purpose, direct.
Clarity. We do need clarity. That's absolutely the truth. Those of you that know Steve Brodner's work, we're not surprised by the depth and the power that we've seen tonight. Those of you that we had the privilege of introducing you to know now what this man can create. You can see his work every day. The Greater Quiet and The Nation collects it at the end of the week, right, on Fridays. Is that right?
It comes out Friday, late morning, early afternoon, usually, at The Nation.
Sneak peek, Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. We have a dedicated volunteer, Chris, who has been in the comment section all night, giving you all the links to Steve.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris is wonderful. We love you, Chris. And if you didn't hear the top of the hour, Steve is now going to join us as our monthly correspondent, our Current Events Illustrated. We'll have to come up with it. That sounds like a good working title. But you're going to come back to us end of the month and give us the what we might have missed, what we need to celebrate, what we need to be aware of and cognizant of, all wrapped up in your beautiful, wonderful pieces of art.
Robert, it's a great honor to be with you. What you're doing is fantastic work. You're binding community together, making people aware of what each other are doing. This is all our jobs. This is what we should be doing. You're doing it in a big way. And I'm delighted and honored to be asked to be a part of this. So thank you. And, anybody who wants to reach me through Facebook or any of the social media platforms, if you know of a story that you'd like me to cover, please do send me a link. A lot of my work comes that way. And thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for making that invitation. So our community knows you can reach out to Steve, and if you see something that you think of his interest, you can inspire him to do some work, and then that would be pretty phenomenal.
There are a lot of stories that we all know about, and we can, all connect up and help each other. So,
I don't know if I can wait a month. I feel like, but I will have to make do. We'll talk, I'm sure, before, but on behalf of our community, I want to wish you a good holiday, whatever you may or may not celebrate, and especially a happy new year and much hope for the future.
Same to you, Robert, and all your viewers and listeners. And 2021 will be better.
Indeed.
Keep the faith. Keep the
Thank
faith.
you, my friend. We'll see you very soon. Be well.
You too. See you.
So that's Steve Brodner, everybody. And even off screen, I will tell you that he is a hero of mine personally and someone who inspires me in the activism I do. And he keeps us all sane. He keeps us all cognizant of the things we need to be aware of. Too many of us, and myself included, will sit at night and watch Rachel or read the Times or lament about what the Wall Street Journal has become or whatever else it may be. And we will say, oh, this is beyond the pale. Oh, it doesn't matter anymore. We're so far gone. And work like, well, actually, there's no work like what Steve is doing. The work that Steve is doing allows us to keep a register of what is happening on a daily, frequent basis. And we all owe him a great debt of gratitude. So check out his Facebook, his Twitter, his Instagram, and The Nation on Fridays, collecting the work for the week. And we are so honored and thrilled that he'll be with us once a month from now on to do, for lack of a better term, thus far, Current Events Illustrated. Thank you for joining us tonight. We went over again the after party, Prince Be Proud, but we had so much to share with you. Be back with us every night. We're here at the Power Hour, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And remember that you are the ones that bring the community to this hour. So without you, there's not much more. So please be with us. It means the world to us that you are here. So please be good to each other. Be good to your families, chosen or otherwise. And especially these days, be good to yourselves. You deserve it and you need it. We'll see you in about 22 hours and 55 minutes. Much love and respect to all y'all.
We need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers.